All right, so the Detroit Lions day 3 of free agency is over. They made a couple of roster moves today. This is actually funny because this is the most active the Lions have been all of free agency so far. Now, the Lions did sign a guy last night, like literally right after I made my video. I think like 30 minutes after I put my video out, they signed, according to Tom Pelissero, former Cardinals nose tackle Roy Lopez is signing a 1-year, $4.65 million deal with the Lions per sources. Now, Roy Lopez, I lost my mind when I first saw this. I always check Twitter right before I go to bed, make sure nothing happened, and I saw this and I about lost my mind. I didn't know who this guy is, and the fact that if I don't know a defensive lineman in 2025 that is a free agent, that's bad. That's really bad because that's how much I've been paying attention to the defensive line these past season or two, maybe even three. Um, so I about lost my mind, but once I started watching some film and stuff like that, watching some tape highlights and all of that, this guy I think has a lot of potential. So I actually don't mind the deal now. I'm still only gonna give the grade probably right now a B. Because I mean it is 4.65 until more contract details come out about Roy Lopez because we don't know the guaranteed money and all that. Um, I don't think it's a bad deal though. I'm pretty sure he started most games for the Cardinals last year. I'm pretty sure he was their backup defensive tackle or their defensive tackle number two. Um, and when you watch the film, his stats aren't going to wow you. The guy is 27 years old, be turning 28 when the season begins. Um, but again, the stats are not going to wow you. But you watch the film, he's got a lot of potential. He really does. So Roy Lopez, he fits us by the way a lot. I watched a couple of his press conferences. He's definitely a Dan Campbell type of guy. Really funny, nice guy. Very similar to Kyle Pecco's size, and he kind of plays exactly like Kyle Pecco as well. So I do believe Kyle Pecco's time as a Detroit Lion has come to an end. Same thing for potentially Pat O'Connor as well. I think there's a better chance that O'Connor comes back than him. Just because O'Connor is not like any defensive tackle we really have right now. O'Connor is more of a, I guess he's kind of like the same thing as Miles Adams. O'Connor is, but we don't really have a defensive tackle besides Miles Adams that is kind of like that type of size. That is more of a rushing the passer defensive tackle. But Roy Lopez is interesting. He's 6'2", 318. I believe Kyle Pecco's 6'1", 315, so about the same size. He had 10 solo tackles, 1 sack, and a forced fumble this past season. Not horrible. He got drafted by the Texans in 2021, pick 195 in the 6th round. He played 16 games. He missed one his rookie year, had a sack and a fumble recovery. Then he played every game in 2022, had another sack, one pass defense. 2023, he went to the Cardinals. I think the Texans released him. He went to the Cardinals, missed 3 games, no statistics essentially besides 42 total tackles. 2024, he missed 1 game with the Cardinals, 1 sack. Again, like I said, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, and 3 passes defense. And especially this past season, and he did have a sack on one of his 3 sacks was on Josh Allen. And if you're bringing Josh Allen down, that's saying something because I've realized within the past two times in the 3 years we've had to face Josh Allen, it's insanely hard to bring the guy down just because they have a decent offensive line and the fact that the guys are so elusive. So, um, he has 3 sacks in his 4-year NFL career, but you watch the film. The guy's a nose tackle. He's decent in the run game. His PFF grades won't say it, but he's decent in the run game when you watch the film. And the thing that I really like about him, he has potential to be a very good pass rusher. He's not great at getting off the line and hand movement. If he gets stuck, he doesn't really have another move to counteract it necessarily. But if he gets his first move, if he beats the guard or whatever on his first move on hand placement or whatever he's trying to do to get past the blocker, he's going to get to the quarterback, either whether with a pressure, a quarterback hit, a sack, whatever it is, he's going to get to the quarterback. It's just the guy can get locked up and then he can get confused sometimes. He also tends to lose sometimes a sight of a runner when the runner has the ball. That's the thing about him in the run game that does unfortunately kind of suck, but I definitely think he can improve on that. So Roy Lopez, welcome to Detroit. Again, I don't really have an opinion on the signing like that. And And the fact that we made another move today makes me like the signing a little bit even more, but after watching the film, I like it even more as well. Again, I was irate when I first saw this news just because I didn't know who the guy was, and the fact that he played on the Cardinals defensive line, which was arguably the worst defensive line in football last season, kind of lost my mind. But what I said, with another defensive tackle, we brought back a 2021 second-round pick. According to Ian Rappaport, staying home, Lions defensive tackle Levi Onwuzurike, just off the best year of his career, is signing back with Detroit, sources say. Returning from a back injury that limited for 2 seasons, he impressed in the 2024 season. He gets a 1-year, $5.5 million deal, and a deal done by CJ LeBoy of Wasserman. That's an awesome name. That's a fantastic name. But Levi Onwuzurike is back. Now, I was kind of shocked. I was trying to figure out why Levi had not been signed yet. I thought for sure if he wasn't going to get signed day 1, which he didn't, that he was for sure going to get signed yesterday on day 2 of free agency. Because yesterday he was arguably the best defensive tackle available once Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave got signed by the Vikings. Him and Larry Ogunjobi were probably the best defensive tackles remaining. And Larry Ogunjobi, I think, got picked up last night or early this morning. So I'm shocked that I think this is kind of a steal for Levi, man. I'm not that high on Levi. I'm really not. He's not a starting defensive tackle, in my opinion, but he has a lot of potential to be an elite backup. Number 3 defensive tackle, he has the chance to be elite. If he starts the season with a McNeil being out, I'm completely fine with it. And then you have Roy Lopez that can rotate in there. I'm completely fine with that. So this is a pretty solid deal. Now, I thought from the get-go, from the Lions insider, I think it was Dave Burkett, who believed that Levi was going to get anywhere from the range of $14 to $18 million per year. That was insane. Like, I never understood why he would get that much coming off of one decent season in his NFL career and being hurt all the time before that and not having a good rookie season. I was trying to figure out why he would get that much, and he's not extremely young. He's already 27. So I was trying to figure out why that. Spotrick had him getting $4.5 million per season, so slightly over that. But I think this is a great deal, man. Now, we don't know the contract details like that. I'm assuming most of it is guaranteed. At least $3.54 million I guarantee is guaranteed. But I don't mind this deal at all. It's a 1-year deal. I'm assuming Levi just wanted a 1-year deal if he's going to come back. That way he can test the market again next season if he has a good season this upcoming year. And that way he can get the bag next year. But Levi, he was second on our team in pressures. I think he had high 30s or low 40s in the pressures, which is extremely good for a defensive tackle. But let's take a look at his stats, I guess. We'll just pull him up. And again, you can say the same thing about Levi when it comes to his stats, especially this past season. They're not going to whoa you, but you watch the tape. He definitely plays better than what you would expect. Now, Levi Onwuzurike, he was awesome to start the season. He looked like he was going to become an elite defensive tackle and kind of turn into what Aleem McNeil has become. Then he kind of died off during the middle of the season, and then he picked it up again towards the end of the season. And again, your stats are not going to whoa you, but he had a very good year this past season. He's smaller than I thought he was in terms of weight. He's 6'3", 290. Again, like I just said, he turned 27 about a week ago. He came from Washington. We took him, picked 41 second round in the 2021 draft. So it was Brad Holmes' second overall draft pick. He had 16 solo tackles, 1.5 sacks, and a forced fumble this past season. Rookie year was not good. Missed 1 game, had 1 sack, was all 2 passes defense. Then he missed all 2022 with a back injury. Then he came back in 2023, still missed 7 games, had 1 sack. That came in the final game of the season against the Vikings. In the 2024, he missed 1 game, 1.5 sacks, and a forced fumble. And matter of fact, his best game of the season, in my opinion, either came against the Tennessee Titans or, once again, the last game of the regular season against the Minnesota Vikings, where he had, I believe, a career-high 8 pressures, 7 or 8 pressures or something like that. He was elite that game. He should have almost got to the quarterback 2 or 3 times in that Vikings game. But he was getting to the quarterback a lot in the Titans game as well. I think he had 5 or 6 pressures in the Titans game and half a sack as well. So, Levi Onwuzurike, welcome back to Detroit. Don't mind this deal at all. It's a low-risk, high-reward signing. Now, this is interesting in the defensive tackle market now, the fact that we signed Roy Lopez and brought back Levi Onwuzurike. This is our defensive tackle room. When healthy, Aleem McNeil is your 1, DJ Reader is your 2, Levi is your 3, Roy Lopez is your 4, Mekhi Wingo as your 5, and then Broderick Martin, Chris Smith, all of them guys is your DT6. Like I said, Pat O'Connor is still a free agent, has not signed. Kyle Pecco, I doubt he comes back now, still a free agent, has not signed. And John Kaminsky, if you want to consider him a defensive tackle, he is not signed as well. In my opinion, I would still want the Lions to draft a defensive tackle, just potentially to look down the road, because Roy Lopez and Levi are only on 1-year deals. DJ Reader is also on the last year of his deal, so you're going to potentially lose 3 guys next season in the defensive tackle position. So I definitely want the Detroit Lions to draft a defensive tackle this season, especially with how talented the class is. Probably, arguably, the best defensive tackle class I've ever witnessed in the 10 years of watching football that I have. The defensive tackle class is amazing this year. I mean, there's 6th-round defensive tackle prospects. Just a guy, for example, Ty Robinson, who is very talented. In last year's draft, last year's interior defensive lineman class wasn't bad either. But Ty Robinson in last year's draft class probably would have went in round 3, potentially even sneaking into the back of the round 2. So that's how talented this interior defensive line class. The edge class is insanely talented as well, but you look at the interior, it's ridiculous. I mean, you have UDFAs who probably would have gone the 5th round last year. It's insane. So I would definitely take a defensive tackle still in this draft with your 4th. The earliest I would take a defensive tackle now is probably the 4th round, unless if a guy really just keeps falling into our laps, like with pick 102 or whatever that we got from the Aaron Glenn. Heading to New York to be the head coach. So, again, Levi, welcome back to Detroit, but that changes a little bit the perspective at defensive tackle now, what we'll potentially do for the rest of free agency and the draft. Now, this video is getting way longer than I want it to be, so we're going to have to hurry up here. And this actually came out, I believe, right before the Levi deal came out. This is according to Aaron Wilson. I didn't have an opinion when we signed him, and I still really don't have an opinion. Former Colts linebacker Grant Stuard has agreed to terms with the Detroit Lions on a fully guaranteed 1-year deal. The deal was negotiated by Agent Grady of Grady Sports. So it's a fully guaranteed 1-year deal, so I'm curious what he's going to get. I'm assuming it's almost the veteran minimum, anywhere from $1.2 to $1.5 million, so it's really not going to affect you. If it is anywhere near $2 million plus, I'm going to kind of lose my mind. The guy has not played enough on defense to earn that much, in my opinion. He's a special teams ace. Actually, Dave Phipp talked about him in his press conference when we were going to face the Colts. And he talked very highly of him. I remember that press conference, too. So when I believe it was Dave Burkett who brought him up, I'm like, oh, yeah, I do remember this. Now, the guy, again, I haven't really watched any film yet of him, but the guy, from what I've been hearing, has got a lot of potential to be potentially the Jalen Reeves-Maybin replacement. By the way, Jalen Reeves-Maybin did officially get released today. Look at his hair, by the way, too. Love it. Alex Anzalone 2.0, just different hair color. Grant Stuard, he's 5'11", so he's undersized, 5'11", 230, 26 years old, will be turning 27 towards the middle of the season. He was actually drafted in 2021, 7th round, pick 259, which was Mr. Irrelevant in that draft. He's been one of the best Mr. Irrelevant draft picks over the past decade, from what I've been hearing from Colts fans. That he's been one of the best Mr. Irrelevant picks over the past decade. So that's pretty good. You know, again, the stats won't say that, but you watch the film, from what I've been hearing from their insiders, that from the Colts, saying that he's been one of the best over the past decade. He only played 1 year in Tampa, played every game, did have a forced fumble, 15 total tackles. Then he signed with the Colts in 2022, missed 2 games, no stats besides 11 tackles. 2023, played every single game, only 7 total tackles. And then 2024, played every single game, 40 total tackles, which is a lot, and no other stats. So, again, the stats aren't going to blow you, but he's very productive. 40 tackles. He also started, I think I read something like 7 games this past season for the Indianapolis Colts, even though his stats aren't insane. He did start, I believe I read 6 or 7 games for the Colts this past season. So this guy has potential to be the Jalen Reeves-Maybin replacement. This guy, in my opinion, the fact that it's a fully guaranteed deal, I do fully expect this guy to be at least a linebacker 6 for the upcoming season. Now, I do expect us to keep 7 linebackers next season, just from how much we got hit the linebacker position. So I fully expect this guy to make the 53-man roster, whether that's linebacker 6 or 7. Not really going to be comfortable with him if he's linebacker 5. I would still like to draft the guy potentially with your 6th round pick or 4th round pick to be new linebacker 5 for this upcoming season. There are still some linebackers out there, Shaq Thompson, Isaiah Simmons, who can play safety. There's still some guys out there you can go get, Chris Barnes, so to be linebacker 5, but Jailers maybe did get officially released today, so we sign Stuart in the process. And this came out as well shortly after that, and this one really sucks, man. According to Adam Schefter's source, former Pro Bowl guard Kevin Zeitler is signing a 1-year, $9 million deal with the Tennessee Titans. Now, Kevin Zeitler, I'm assuming, this really does suck, though. And the reason why I hate this move, and that I'm going to have a problem if Brad Holmes didn't try to bring him back, is because he's one of the best guards in football to start out with. But I am not going to be comfortable at all if we have to have Graham Glasgow being our starting guard next season. This 100% does mean, in my opinion, that Christian Mahogany will be starting for us next season, which I love. He was fantastic when he filled in last season. Already looked like a veteran guard who played at a high level last season as a rookie 6th-round pick. Still can't believe he fell to the 6th round. But if Graham Glasgow is forced to start next year and we don't bring in competition, I'm going to lose my mind. So now we have a guard spot we have to fill. I love Netane Moody as a backup. I don't really know as a starter, though, if there's any flexibility there. But we definitely need to add another guard now. I could definitely see us going after a guy in the draft like Donovan Jackson, Tyler Booker, Tate Ratledge, somebody like that, Luke Canandra, Seth McLaughlin, or maybe we move him to guard. So I could definitely see us going after a guy in the draft in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd round. If we do take a guard at pick 28, I'm going to lose my mind. I'll say that. We just don't need to do that. But I could definitely see us taking a guy in the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th round for sure to try to develop to at least compete with Graham Glasgow for the starting job. There is a couple more guards I do like that are available. I like Mekhi Becton. I do like Tevin Jenkins. They could potentially give a long-term deal to. If you're going to look for the veteran route just for a 1-year deal like you did the past season with Zeitler, still got Brandon Sheriff, Shaq Mason. You still got a couple guys out there that you could bring in for that position, Lucas Patrick. So you got some guys that are available still out there. But leave your thoughts in the comments down below. One Pride Go Lions. Let me make sure I'm going to check Twitter because I literally uploaded my video and then shortly after we did sign Roy Lopez yesterday. So let me make sure no news came out for the Lions real quick. That way I can just get it out here. Okay, it does not look like there's any news. So that'll do it. One Pride Go Lions. Hopefully Brad Holmes makes another move tomorrow, whether it's on the defensive line. Hopefully he does. One Pride Go Lions.